Hey friends, so we've been talking about the Yamas and the Niyamas, or these ethical guidelines that are kind of laid out most famously by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras. This week we talked about Aparigraha, and Aparigraha has been translated as non-clinging, non-possessiveness, non-greed, non-attachment, etc. And one of my favorite ways to think about this concept is to equate it to the breath, right? So we take a big breath in, we let it go, it feels good. When we inhale, we're bringing oxygen into the lungs. As we exhale, there's an exchange that happens, carbon dioxide leaves the body, right? Now, if we got greedy about breath and we tried to hold it in and hoard that inhale, what happens is that the oxygen gets used up, the carbon dioxide levels raise, and eventually, if we hold the breath long enough, it becomes a little bit toxic. It's not good for us, right? And this is essentially the concept of Aparigraha. It says that we can enjoy fully all of the fruits that this miracle of a life has to offer us, whether it's good experiences, bad experiences, and everything in between. But then after we experience it, we let it go. That's Aparigraha. And we live in a very interesting time right now where there's this billion-dollar industry called the advertising industry, whose sole purpose is really to tell us stories about how we are not complete, we are not good enough. And if we just had this thing, then we'd be happy and then we'd be complete. And we believe them on some level and we buy the thing, right? But then there's this other thing that we need to buy and we get that too. And we keep on buying these things because at some level we believed them, right? But there seems to be a shift away from that where people are starting to realize, that model seems like bullshit and it's not working for me, right? And we see things on one end of the pendulum swing where there's like this minimalism movement happening where people are getting rid of all of their things and they're moving into a van or a tiny home or something like that. But more broadly in the middle, we're seeing things like this woman, Marie Kondo's show, Tidying Up. I'm sure most of you at least have heard of this show. Where we're essentially watching people clean their rooms, right? But we can't help it, right? We get enthralled by this show because we see the chaos of these people's lives and we empathize. We feel their suffering because we've been there too. And then we see this woman come in and help them organize and clean up and get rid of shit. And we feel good. We see their lives improve and we feel that too, right? And there's this old saying that kind of goes like, the things that we possess eventually end up possessing us, right? And isn't that true? Like every day if we have a messy garage or a messy closet or a junk drawer that needs cleaning up, it drains us when we see that. It sucks our energy out, right? We constantly think about it every time we see it. Or if we, are working 3 jobs so we can afford 2 cars and a house that's too big for us that we don't need and a boat and all of these toys that we think are going to make us happy, we have to continue to work to pay for the things. The things that we possess eventually possess us. And so this concept of Aparigraha asks us to let go of some of those things. Just keep what's necessary in your life, experience what there is to experience, and then let those things go, right? And we don't just do this with possessions. We can also cling to expectations, to certain experiences that we've had, or expectations of certain people in our lives, like our spouses or our coworkers or our dog, right? Maybe they did something that we really liked and we want them to recreate that experience over and over again. But essentially what we're doing by holding on to that expectation is we're trying to control that which is not ours to control. And inevitably, they are going to fail to show up sometime. And it's going to lead to suffering. We're going to suffer. Probably they're going to suffer too. And this was one of the Buddha's Four Noble Truths, right? And so Aparigraha would also ask us to let go of those expectations of other people so that we can be open to the newness, to the freshness of the moment, to learn whatever lesson there is to learn or enjoy whatever experiences there is to enjoy in that moment. And of course, we hold expectations of ourselves, right? And this is one of the things that we can see show up on our asana on the yoga mat, right? Just the other day, I was working on peacock pose, which is kind of a difficult arm balance. And I can do it, but for whatever reason, that day, my back was a little tweaky and I couldn't get into it. And the martial artist in me was about to just push through it because I had this story that, of course, I can do this. But I was teaching Aparigraha that day, and I thought, hang on, man, you better embody this shit before you're going to go preach it. So I didn't do it, right? And we can also hold on to negative stories, right? If I tell my students we're going to work towards peacock, some may immediately say, I can't do that pose. What are you talking about, right? This is a negative story that we're holding on to. And so by letting go of that negative story, we never know what might happen. The strength that we've developed through consistency, we might be surprised at our ability levels. So this is the concept of Aparigraha, of enjoying the things that the moment has to offer, or learning a lesson if it's not something super enjoyable, but then letting it go. Don't carry it with you the rest of the day. Get rid of the things that don't serve you, that aren't necessary. So this is the last of the yamas. We'll start up with the niyamas. I'm actually going to be traveling for a little bit, so we'll put this on hold until after the 4th of July, and then we'll dive into that section. So hope to see you then, and have a great couple weeks.